Ram Squad Show is back. Another strong win for our Rams to move to 2-0. I'm Gavin Carlson, and I'll be honest, I might have been dead wrong about this offense. We are looking elite.
What it do, squad? It's your boy Mike Brockers. And is the Rams the best second-half team in the National Football League right now?
And my name is Doug McKain, and give me more Blake Corum.
Whose house? Rams house. It's the Rams Squad. Everything Los Angeles Rams every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the City of Angels. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Here comes the Rampede. The Rams Squad Show starts now.
We all knew it.
Yes, we did. What is going on, Ramley? Ram Squad Show, the Mob Squad is back, and another victory post-game edition of the Rams Squad Show as Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, Matthew Stafford, that defense, Blake Corum, everybody handles business. A big-time win for the Rams over the Titans to move to 2-0, to set up a huge game against the Eagles next week that we'll get to. But before we do, my, shout out to everybody in here, hopping in here live. Got another fun hour-long post-game show. Make sure to leave your comments throughout the show. We're going to be reacting to them. Let us know how good you think this Rams team can be. And yes, call me an idiot for doubting this Rams offense on the last episode, because boy, oh boy, did they prove me wrong. Before we jump into it, Big Mike Brock, 2-0. How's it feeling?
Man, I'm great, man. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we all knew this was going to happen. But, I mean, I'm doing well, man. Let's get the show started.
Yes, sir. The other legend here, D-Mac, also a legendary defensive tackle, right? How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. I just want to say, Coke Zero is not a sponsor for the show. I'm sorry I got in that first shot there. So, you got to get it popping here, celebrate a little Coke Zero. But no, honestly, like Brock said, I mean, it's taking care of business, going out there and beating a team that you're supposed to beat. The score, I don't think, even reflects how well the Rams played towards the end. As you point out, Brock's second-half team, the restraint by Sean McVay not to jump up the score a little more there. But, hey, like what I saw, some really interesting developments in this one as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the questions that some of us had coming into this show were answered, right? They certainly were, at least in my opinion. Just a really impressive win. You said you're sipping on the Coke Zero here. We got people saying that D-Mac needed to finish off his Michelada coming into this show. I mean, his Bloody Mary coming into this show. I mean, certainly reasons to drink a celebratory drink or two, because 33-19 for the Rams. It was dicey at times, maybe not unclench those butt cheeks, D-Mac levels of dicey, but it was a game that the Rams were trailing 16-13 before they really just exploded when you needed them to. And honestly, it's all because of two guys, Davante Adams and Puka Nacua, getting the ball for Matthew Stafford, of course, but the two of them combined for over 240 yards through the air. And after that first game against the Texans, there's always questions. There's always overreactions after week one. The question was, is this Texans defense just really good? Were the Rams just rusty? Or were there actually concerns about the Rams offense after only putting up 14 points? Well, they answered those questions, right, D-Mac?
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned it right there. The offense really not only put up a lot of yards. I mean, if I told you before this game that they were able to put up 439 total yards on offense, I mean, that was their most in a game since week 14 last year when they had 457 against the Bills and that surprise win. But it was how balanced the offense was, too. 149 yards on the ground, 290 through the air. Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, a nice 1-2 punch there. Davis Allen, who's starting to really look like he is TE2 with Parkinson now and Ferguson not really in the mix, making that really nice effort to stretch and get the pylon, showed his like triceps on those replays. I'm like, dude is jacked. So, yeah, I mean, the offense stepped up. I think the defense was fantastic as well. But as you point out, it wasn't a game where, I mean, you look at the final score and you probably think to yourself, wow, I mean, the Rams were probably in control of this game the entire time when you win 33-19 on the road. But this is a Titans team that actually took the lead with over 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and then they just turned it on. So they were kind of playing with their food a little bit against this Titans team, but the end result is the end result. I still think it's a little bit of a rusty-ish Matthew Stafford, and the offense is not 100% clicking like the numbers kind of indicated, But yeah, this is a really good quality win. And there was some fears that this was maybe a trap game going to that Eagles game. But hey, you like what you saw. Go on the road, get a dub, and you go on to the next game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's 16-13. And at that point, there's a good balance between the run and pass, but maybe there's still questions about how elite this offense can truly be. But I mean, to go 4 plays, one of them being 24 yards to open up the drive to Puka Nacua, then 22 yards to Puka Nacua, then that 15-yard run from Blake Corum, who we will get into plenty. He looked lively in this game, and then the 8-yard touchdown, like you said, to Davis Allen. For there to be 2 plays of over 20 yards to open a drive, then a 15-yard run. I think the Rams, if I remember correctly, had 7 plays of 20 yards or more in this ball game, something like that. So the big plays that we wanted to see, that people were criticizing me in the comment section for in the last show when I said, the Rams are good, but do we have that X factor? We don't have that Lamar. We don't have that, Josh Allen. Well, guess what? The X factor is having 2 elite receivers, a great run game, a great play caller in Matthew Stafford. The big plays, especially on that drive, were what really impressed me. But I don't think, even with that drive, I don't think the Rams fully turn this game into a blowout if it's not for that fumble that they forced in the fourth quarter, up 20-16, where Byron Young gets in there, forces the fumble. Nate Landman, he had the punch in the last game. This time he has the recovery. Big Brock, talk to me about how huge that strip sack was when Cam Ward, who had an impressive game, had an opportunity to maybe drive midway through the fourth quarter and try to take the lead.
Man, I love this game by Byron. I think he did a phenomenal job today. I mean, let's be honest, he had a guy moving up from practice squad starting today. So to see him go, just take advantage of that. You're not going to get too many chances to get a practice squad guy move up and be in front of you. So he took advantage of that today. I think at that point of the game, getting that strip sack and just really sealing the game, and that's two games in a row where the defense comes up and really pretty much seals the game for the Rams. So to see that happen today, he's making a name for himself, and competitively as a player, I know what he's going through. You're talking about Brandon Fitz. You're talking about Braden Fitz. You're talking about Jared Verse. And his name didn't get mentioned in there last year, So this year, I think he was really hot and just competitive about, man, I'm going to make a name for myself this year. So seeing him go out there and get 2 sacks, I think did he have a sack? You think 2 sacks or a sack last game? So he's on the run to have a phenomenal year this year. So I think he's doing a great job, kind of eating off that, one-on-ones. When everybody's focused on, Jared Verse and chipping him, he's getting those one-on-ones on the backside and taking advantage of that and making the most out of those opportunities.
Yeah, you can make the argument. Go ahead, D-Mac.
I think it speaks to the depth, too. Like you talked about that, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, all these guys that were all mentioned before Byron Young. Anytime you brought up the Rams defense to start the season, but for the first couple of weeks, Byron Young is saying, hey, I'm not taking a backseat to anyone, right? I feel like I can be an all-pro, a pro bowler. And today, as you mentioned, taking advantage of that matchup, I think, was key. You need to get a strong pass rush against Cam Ward, and they had that. Kobe Turner, Josiah Stewart, Cam Curl, they all had sacks in this one. But Byron Young, he really was that star. 2 sacks, forced a fumble, set up that short field that allowed them to take that 2-score lead in this one. And like I said, I don't think it's a negative towards the other guys on this team. I think it's more of a, hey, no, they got more than just 1 or 2 dudes. They've got a lot of depth and star potential on that side of the football.
Yeah, the fact that Byron Young last week, he has 9 total tackles. I'm sitting there going, hey, this guy had an all-around game. You can make the argument he was the best player on the field last week for the Rams. 9 total tackles, 5 solos, 4 assists, and the sack. For him to kind of one-up it today with 2 sacks, including the huge strip sack, and like you're both saying, he's maybe the 3rd or 4th best player on this defense, that's pretty absurd. The same way that Puka Nacua has the game that he has last week, has a pretty darn impressive game this week, and he was the 2nd best receiver for the Rams today because Davante Adams goes crazy for the 106 yards. The fact, too, that Davante Adams only catches 6 of his 13 targets means there's easily a scenario where this guy can completely explode. That's what makes things so dangerous and so special for the Rams and the potential that they have. But again, when you have the ability to have the strip sack, to make it a game that With 16-13, you're down. Even 20-16, it's a nervy game. The strip sack, immediately you respond with the quick touchdown. That right there, that stretch is what told me, no. I don't care how scared I was in the last couple of shows. That stretch right there where it goes from 16-13 Titans to 27-16 in a few plays, right? In a few plays, it's like, okay, wait a second. This is an elite football team. And then the cherry on top, one more touchdown to get that BTA. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, Locked On Podcast Network, but that confirmed the BTA, and that's what we were all looking for. I think, Brock, you had the Rams win this game by like 17 points or something, right? So you were the closest here, right? I mean, as someone who predicted the big win, how validated you feeling about the result, and what does it say maybe about what we've got going forward the rest of the season for these Rams?
Man, early on, I was biting my nails because I'm like, man, how are we, tied, or how are we going into halftime and the Titans are up, But like I said before, man, I trust in this coaching staff. I trust in, them coming back to the, in halftime, coming back to the locker room, knowing like, okay, this is what we did, this is what we couldn't do. Let's make the changes, let's make the adjustments, and go out in the second half and take advantage of it. So, and that's pretty much what they did. First half, it was a little struggle. They were running the ball inside. They couldn't really – the Rams, it's hard for them to run the ball inside the tackles, running dives, running, plays like that. But when they get outside and they start running off tackle each side, that's when you've seen the explosive runs by Blake Corum. And then toward the end, they're just wearing this defense out. And Kyron goes for, two or more plays over 10 yards. So for me, man, it was just all about making adjustments, going in the second half, trusting in this coaching staff and believing in whatever they have going. Early on, like I said, it was a tied game. The Titans going up 16-13, before half. But I just knew the Rams were going to come out in the second half on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, too, you see it's a 10-10 game, 30 seconds left to play. Matthew Stafford, he really throws a bad interception to Cody Barton. And after that, it was like he said, hey, enough's enough. I got to lock in whatever it takes, whatever it was. I don't know what exactly it was or whether or not it's adjustment, a mental thing. But after that, he really played flawless football. Davante Adams, Puka Nacua both getting in the mix. Davis Allen play, the running game, just having a nice balance there. After that, you felt really good about it. But to your point, Gavin, you really didn't say to yourself, oh, this game is over until you got Corum's first career touchdown with a little over 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. That's when you really knew the game was over. That was with 6:45 left to play to put the Rams up 33-16. So, yeah, it's it almost feels like for this team, it's like I don't want to say it's their preseason because these are regular season games, but you can kind of feel that they're still figuring things out on the fly because of how they handle preseason, because of the Matthew Stafford back injury, because of, hey, Blake Corum is a thing. And, let's be honest, Kyron Williams was not running the ball very efficiently at all. And Sean McVay recognized that. And instead of saying, hey, we're not going to, we play players here, we don't play paychecks. And just because we signed to this big extension, a nice little contract, we're not going to go with him necessarily every single opportunity. And Corum went out there and he really, really impresses with the explosive run. So, yeah, I still think the best is yet to come for the offense. But, man, they can really lean on this defense for really, really long stretches. You look at the defense today, and you look at the 19 points, right? 19 points, 4 of those were field goals. You had 2 of those field goals were on 50-plus yard field goals. One was a 56-yard drive where they start on their own 44-yard line. You had 5 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. I think this defense is really, really confident saying, hey, we're going to hold it down while you guys figure it out on offense. And then when these two really start to sync up, the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, it was really interesting watching Cam Ward against this defense too, because he's running all over the place. We're getting pressure, like you said, coming into the game, Mike Brock, with the lack of talent on their offensive line. He had that absolutely absurd touchdown throw, and when that happened, I was absolutely fuming because it did feel like a game in the first half that the Rams kept a little bit closer than they needed to, right? A game where they had an opportunity to score 2 touchdowns and make it 14, but instead it was just 10. And then you have a chance to get off the field and you don't. And then you allow Cam Ward to have that absurd touchdown. You also gave up a punt return touchdown that got called back on. I don't know what you guys think, but I thought kind of a soft call a little bit, right? So that first half, to see it be a game where Cam Ward is playing better than a rookie and he's testing this defense. But for this defense to have a bend, don't break in the first half, and then kind of put the hammer on the Titans in the second half, very encouraging, like you're saying, and certainly gives us confidence going into what is the biggest game of the season, at least in the early stages, against those Eagles. Now, we're going to take our break. When we get back, I do want to talk a little bit more about that run game situation with Blake Corum and Kyron. We have to talk about the 45-yard rushing touchdown from Puka Nacua, because that was just beautiful. Matthew Stafford, another week where the back doesn't look like an issue, right? Knock on wood. So plenty to talk about here on the second straight, perfect 2-0 start to the Rams Squad Show, where we have a second straight winning edition of the Locked On Rams Squad Show. We will be right back. Now, on this beautiful Sunday, I'm back in LA, loving life. The Rams are 2-0. And man, oh man, it's a whole lot better when you use one of the sponsors of today's show, PrizePicks. It's the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I'm a guy who does things last minute. I always am. And what's great about PrizePicks is you can just quickly go on 30 seconds before a game is starting, and you can say, you know what? I think that Travis Kelce is going to do this. I think that Saquon Barkley is going to do that. You just pick more or less. It takes seconds. And just like that, what is already a great NFL watching experience becomes that much more exciting when you've got things at stake. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Back here live on a victory post-game edition of the Locked On Rams Squad Show. The Mob Squad is back. They said right there, PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Well, I'll be honest. I was a little bit wrong. I was doubting the big play capability of this Rams offense. I was doubting the ability of this Rams offense to explode for more than 20 points or 24 points or 27 points. How about 33 of those things? And it started with a 45-yard rushing touchdown from Puka Nacua. I mean, if that doesn't tell you how creative this offense is going to be, how they're going to take advantage of Puka Nacua's versatility, especially when you got Davante Adams on the other side. He can be your primary red zone threat, your primary guy on the outside. Guess what? It gives even more opportunity for Puka to get things like this, like a 45-yard rushing touchdown. D-Mac, when you saw that play, when you see Puka take it on the left side to go up 7-0, how did that feel? What were you thinking?
It was incredible. I mean, just the call there on a 4th and 1 to get creative like that, I thought was big. It kind of shows how much they trust a dynamic version of Puka Nacua. Now that you have Davante Adams, you can kind of mix him up and do some different things with him. And I think what I love about Puka, too, it's not like he's a guy who's going to break your ankles and do a lot of quick cuts and things like that. But that was a 0-0 game at that point, right? It was early in the first quarter that you go to that play. He just gets downhill and starts running. And one thing I'll say, too, is Puka Nacua, 45 yards, that's longer than any run Kyron Williams ever had. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not like trying to like dog Kyron or anything like that. I know it kind of sounds like that off the top of the show. But I will say, I mean, Puka's a dog. Like, I mean, he's legitimately, I think he has not peaked as a player, even though he's had 2 really good first 2 seasons. And man, I just think he looks leaner and meaner. He looks healthy and physical, but I think looks lighter too in some weird way. I mean, this guy has all pro written all over him. And that's another example. Not a lot of guys can do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I do agree that watching Puka do that and saying, like you said, we haven't seen Kyron do that. And then watching Blake Corum have a couple big runs and coming off the show where we're talking about Todd Gurley being Brock's former teammate and how amazing he was. It does sort of feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, Brock, it kind of feels like an elephant in the room, this Kyron Williams thing of, hey, he is a great high floor running back, but is he going to take this run game to where it could be? Or is there an argument to be made that maybe he's actually holding back the explosiveness of this run game a little bit? Brock, am I talking out of my you-know-what, or what do you think?
I just think he needs to be set up a little bit better. I mean, to think he's a downhill A gap to B gap type runner, I don't think that is. I think he likes to run those stretch plays, get outside like that. Like earlier in the show, I said they may be an off tackle team based on their running backs, and then giving them the opportunity to cut back and find those lanes, which he did toward the end of the game. That's when you start to see him, gain more yardage and have some of those big explosive runs. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. Maybe he's not a downhill run in your face type guy. He's a guy who wants to maybe get you running sideways, get you running lateral, then cut back and then get those explosive yardage. So I just think, man, it's just about, finding what works best for your players. Like if he's not a guy that just can run down your face and run down the A gap and get those yardages, let's find different ways to use the motion, use the different things to get him going going towards the offensive tackles, then cutting back. And then I think, those plays, he's seen Blake Corum getting, when he started to get off a little bit, and then he was like, man, come on, coach, give me them same plays. So he started to get those towards the end of the game, and you started to see him explode.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, D-Mac, I felt like the interesting thing about this Blake Corum-Kyren kind of comparison, when we drafted Blake Corum, it kind of felt like a pretty similar running back, in my opinion. Obviously, not a shorter guy. Maybe I don't think anyone viewed Blake Corum as explosive at Michigan. It was kind of the same thing of he was a guy that would wear down opposing teams in the Big Ten. They'd run the ball 30 times, and then on that 22nd carry, 23rd carry of the ball game, he would bust one open because of how physical that Michigan offensive line was. So it kind of felt like a logical fit as, hey, he will just come in when Kyren needs a break and do the exact same thing as Kyren. But I don't know if it was him. I believe he said he lost 5 to 10 pounds, Blake Corum, compared to where he was at last season. But he just looks kind of significantly quicker and more explosive than a Kyren Williams. I don't know. What do you say? It's definitely an interesting thing. And maybe it's an embarrassment of riches type thing where, cool, we just have two really good running backs. Or is it a debate of maybe we need to be, leaning on this other guy a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, as Brock said, play to each of these guys' strengths. And I think this is not we need to see way more Blake Corum and way less Kyren Williams, because that's the way dramatic, way too prisoner of the moment take on this. The truth is, it is, as Sean McVay likes to point out, a champagne problem. You have two good running backs, and Blake Corum is a guy that he kind of brings this different bowling ball element. There's a little silky, smoothie part of his game that Kyren Williams kind of more rough, rugged, and kind of like physical, pound out. You're not afraid of the contact. I'm not saying Blake Corum is, but there's just a little difference in the way these guys run. When going into this season, going to last season, the whole thought process was, no, we're drafting Blake Corum in the event that Kyren Williams goes out and Blake Corum can come in and do Kyren Williams things. Truth is, no player is exactly alike, right? All guys have differences. All guys have strengths. And I think that last year we saw an 80% snap percentage for Kyren. This in week one, we said something like that too. The question is, does this become more of an equal opportunity running backfield, or does this kind of make Kyren kind of make sure that, hey, he's in there and he's having success when he's in there to get his snaps and this and that? Who knows? But the good news is, you got two cable running backs. Blake Corum, there just seems like there's something to him where, okay, he can go in there and he just falls forward, right? And just kind of, maybe a 10-yard run for Kyren is like a 16-yard run for Blake Corum sometimes. It kind of feels like that. The truth is, they both had 15-yard longs, right? So I just think it's encouraging more than anything else. And I think, too, if this team is going to have the run that we all expect them to have, one running back is not going to get the job done. You need two cable guys in modern-day NFL. So I'm more encouraged than anything else versus I see a lot of people slamming Kyren around. That's not where I'm at. I'm just hey, I'm very excited about, hey, it looks like they hit on someone else with Blake. Yeah,
true. And at the end of the day, as someone who, it's ironic, I'm coming here kind of sounding a bit critical of Kyren Williams, but he is still the straw that stirs the drink, in the sense that we need a run game. We need a consistent run game that's getting 4 or 5 yards a carry to set everything up. I mean, that drive I brought up with the 4 plays started with two, a 22-yarder and a 24-yarder to Puka Nacua. If I remember correctly, that's 2 play-action passes where Puka goes across the middle of the field. The linebackers have to step up a couple yards, and Puka's open in the middle of the field, right? That does not happen without Kyren Williams consistently getting you 5 yards a carry, right? So even as I'm sitting here being maybe a little bit critical of the lack of explosiveness from him at times. Without him, there's no explosive plays elsewhere, right? The explosive plays don't necessarily come from him, but they're as a result of him. Now, I know some people are saying it here in the chat. They're talking about the Ahkello Witherspoon injury. I guess Sean McVay did just confirm that it is a broken clavicle. We will get to that after another break when we talk a little bit more about the defense. It's very unfortunate news, and we will talk about that as we look forward. But I do real quick want to keep it on this trend of the offense and just talk about kind of how the offense looked overall in terms of 5 for 12 on third downs, which is solid, right? Maybe not crazy good, but it's okay. You did get 8 first downs via penalty, converted some first downs via the air, 8 first downs converted on the ground. I thought the real interesting thing was, like we said, the yardage amount in this game wasn't even close. Rams outgained the Titans 439 to 252. So it's not like maybe the Texans game where you're sitting there going, if the Texans turn a couple field goals into touchdowns, we lose that game. You look at this game and you go, there was absolutely no doubt the Rams dominated this one. 7.4 yards a play, 290 through the air, 150 on the ground. And it's another week where Matthew Stafford gets up after every hit. He looks fired up. I don't know about you guys, but he had that one throw to Jordan Whittington, and he kind of like hit it like a little fadeaway. It looked like Steph Curry hitting in a 3 and then turning around before it went in. Like he threw it and he started kind of doing like a little swaggy fallback. Matthew Stafford looks like himself, right, Brock?
Man, absolutely, man. And I'm loving this offense, man. They make you honest early. And with the Puka Nacua run and with the sweeps and motions and things, you don't know what to guard. You didn't know he was getting the ball. He's been running that motion the whole game. And then Blake, Kyron gets the ball. And then on 4th down, you run this play. And then let's not talk about, last week we got on the tight ends a little bit. My guy Higbee showed up today. So, the fact that the tight ends were in the game too, they just make you play for everything. You don't know what's here, what's there. You're watching tight end, then you're watching the running back, and then somebody's motioning, and then, so it's so much for a defense to handle. They just keep you honest everywhere. So you have to be on your keys. You feel like, okay, I'm getting this run read, and then all of a sudden it's a play action. Now you're too far up, and he hits you over the top. He can throw those level balls over the top where he hit Davante Adams and Puka Nacua. These guys are in the slot. I think they had Davante in the slot a couple of times today, with the motioning Whittington out and things like that, getting them outside and having Davante, in the slot. So this offense makes you work for everything. And defensively, if you want to be able to guard this offense, you have to be on your P's and Q's all game long. And I mean, that's on every play. You don't know who's going to get the ball. You have to make the tackle. So for me, man, it's this offense in general, like the whole offensive scheme, Sean McVay's foundation, 11 personnel, motions, orbit motions, everything has to work together. And for this offense to be successful and on the defensive side of the ball, man, it is a headache. It's a headache to be on top of everything. And you're like, okay, motion here, motion there. So for me, man, it's just offense in general. They just keep you honest all over the field.
Yeah, the flashes are certainly there. And with Davante, it gives you that true outside guy that can catch that go ball, just stretch a little bit. And I think you'll look at his first touchdown, and it really shows you kind of what this offense is capable of and just kind of the extra clubs they have in their bag this year compared to last year. I mean, it's a 2016 game, 9:42 left to play. There's pressure on that play. And we talked about Kyron Williams and why he's kind of in there a lot of the times. He's a great blocker. Not afraid to block for Matthew Stafford. Hits a great block, gives him that extra half second. Stafford didn't even get really step into that one, kind of just flings it, and he just drops it into the bucket, and it's just so pretty. I think the thing about Stafford, I think you're still getting like B+ at best Stafford right now, just because of how high his standard is throughout the course of an entire game. But when he releases it, it's still so aesthetically pleasing. It's like as pretty of a ball as anyone in the NFL still to this day. I mean, my wife could be telling me something, and I just don't even listen if the ball's in the air. I'm like, what was that? I didn't hear you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like time stops. It's so clean, so pretty, perfect amount of air. And I think you're seeing them continue to get better. Like, here's a good example of why an offense that still had a really good day, as you point out the numbers, but still hasn't gotten close to reaching their potential. Davante Adams, 6 catches, 106 yards, 1 touchdown, 33-yard long, but 6 catches on 13 targets. So I think you're going to see them close the gap on that, right?
Yeah.
9 catches, 14 targets, right? 10 catches, 15 targets. You're going to see them kind of close the gap on that as they continue to build chemistry. But so far, so good for the guys that, some might say are, past their prime or falling out of their prime. Those guys have still got their fastballs. They 100% do. And like Puka, superstar, like star, like super duper star. So I still feel really good about this team. And as you point out, Brock, you got a guy in Sean McVay that just knows how to put these guys on the chessboard in the right spots, and they're still going to get better.
Yeah, and the fact that, like you said, Matthew Stafford, you're saying maybe B+, right? It's kind of funny. He had 10 incomplete passes, and 7 of them are to Davante Adams. He throws 1 incomplete one to Puka. He had the 1 incomplete to Tutu Atwell, and then he threw 1 ball away. So he's still trying to get that connection with Davante Adams. It also, what I like, though, is it does feel like he's like, screw it. We're going to form this connection on the field during the game, right? Like, I don't know if you remember, but there was one drive where I think that all 3, first and goal, second and goal, third and goal throws were to Davante Adams. None of them were converted. And you're maybe sitting there going, hey, we've got this guy in Puka Nacua on the other side. Why are we not giving him an opportunity? Well, here's why. Later in the game, then Davante Adams absolutely burns his man, smokes him, catches the ball, taps his feet in the back of the end zone for that touchdown, right? So it's almost like they were working through the kinks, getting that connection right now against the Tennessee Titans because they didn't get to do it during the training camp. And again, like you're saying, when that 23 of 33 and that 6 on 13 targets for Davante becomes a 10 on 13 targets and he's 28 of 33, my word, this team could put up 40. And again, I did not think that was the case. I really didn't. I felt like this team had to play perfect in order to put up a lot of points, but they did not play perfect today, and they still put up 33 on a Titans defense that played well against Denver too. Let's not forget that. They held Bo Nix and company last week. So just super impressive, and obviously a lot to be excited about. We've got plenty of more stuff to be excited about on the squad show. We have to talk about the defense a little bit more because it was not just that strip sack from Byron Young. Other guys on this defense balled in this one. We do have a potentially long absence now to talk about on the defense as well. And then those Eagles who are playing the Chiefs right now. I know D-Mac is looking at this game closely. The question becomes, what are the Rams going to do against the Eagles next week in Philly, knowing that the offense has more room to grow? The defense might have just lost a big name, and the Eagles are in a dogfight with the Chiefs as we speak. So we'll talk about all of that with the Mob Squad, your favorite squad, right here on the Locked on Rams Squad Show. We'll be right back. Now, again, on this post-game Sunday, today's show is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Look, we all turn to some funny places for advice. You're a barista, your barber, maybe even a random stranger in the bathroom. Hey, and lately, call me crazy. I'm a big, hey, Google this, ChatGPT that. We get our advice from a lot of weird sources, all right? But not everyone is the right one when it comes to real support. And that's why BetterHelp is here. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience, BetterHelp helps you find your right match. Someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life's challenges. It's flexible. BetterHelp is. You can join sessions online from home or on the go, which makes therapy fit into your busy schedule. And what I like, you start with a simple questionnaire. It's not very complicated. You start with a simple questionnaire, and BetterHelp does the matching work for you. Best part, if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. So, as the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Back here with the Mob Squad. Big Brock, Big D-Mac, Rams 33, Titans 19. Elite win by what is looking more and more like an elite team in the NFC. We do have a score update, I guess you could say. It's what? Chiefs 3, Eagles 7. Chiefs got the ball. We're looking at that game closely, not because it really has any, maybe it has implications on the standings, I guess, but it's more so what are these Eagles going to look like next week when the Rams play them? So we'll be keeping a close eye there. We'll talk about some other scores we saw so far on this Sunday as well, but we have to get a little bit more talking about the defense. A very good performance from the defense overall. We were able to hold the Titans to just 250 total yards. That's despite Cam Ward having an unbelievable touchdown, looking pretty decent. 143 passing yards maybe doesn't do him justice, but the big news about the defense outside of the success is the injury to Ahkello Witherspoon, a guy who, D-Mac, I know you were talking up about how great he had quietly become in recent weeks and recent, years going back to last season. Broken clavicle. How big of a absence will this be for the Rams defense, D-Mac?
Yeah, as you point out, he was terrific week 1 against Nico Collins. He was great late last year and really throughout long stretches with his time with the Rams, but it's a tough injury. It really is, because what he brings is that size to match up against taller receivers. And he's physical. He's CB1, right? He's CB1 on this team. The good news is they do have solid depth. Darius Williams came in, made some plays. He knows this defense. Is he going to perform as well as Ahkello against taller guys with him being at like 5'8", 5'9"? Probably not, but you do have Forbes and Durant, guys that are still trying to prove themselves in this league. I'm trying to spin this one as best I can, sugarcoat this one as best I can, but the truth is someone's going to have to step up. They're going to be tested. This is the last thing you wanted going into Philly, where you got A.J. Brown and guys are going to test you for sure on a big stage. So this is a blow. Like this is an absolute blow. Is this a situation where you use one of those draft picks that you have in the war chest to go after a cornerback? Who knows? But he is going to miss some significant time.
Yeah, that was kind of always a theory I had even before this injury, is that, obviously we got all the Jalen Ramsey talk in the offseason. That wasn't for nothing, right? We'll never know how serious it was, but certainly there wouldn't be all of those reports if the Rams weren't even considering acquiring a corner. Certainly you make a great point now, D-Mac. With this, it feels like we are going to be hunting early and often for a guy to play in the secondary. Brock, take me in the mind of a D lineman or just anyone on that defense when you hear the news that one of your best, if not your best guy in the secondary is going to be out indefinitely. What's the mindset inside that locker room especially after a win, right? The vibes are high, but you also have the injury to kind of counter that.
Man, it obviously is bad news. You don't want to ever hear somebody get hurt, but this is what we signed up for. This is football. It's 100% injury sport. And what I love about the Rams and this organization, Sean McVay and his staff, is they preach a next man up mentality. And everybody has to know what they have to do each and every week. So for me to have a guy like Darius Williams come off the bench and be a veteran and come in and really made a couple plays. So to see the depth of this team kind of come to fruition and just show this is why we have the team we have, and the players that we do have, they may not be known guys, but they're guys for our team. Darius, like you said, Darius, this is his second stint with the Rams, so he knows the defense, knows the coaching staff. So for me to see the depth of this team kind of show itself, and for the guys to come in and after your best player gets hurt to make a play, it really shows the tips a hat to this coaching staff and what they do to prepare each and every week, and to the players in itself. Last week he was expected probably to play a little bit more. This week his number is called. He shows up as soon as his number is called. So for me, man, it just shows that this team has the depth that we need. Obviously, we don't want anybody else to get hurt, but man, it just shows itself that this organization knows what they're doing. Yeah,
D-Mac, I'm curious. I know you're extremely high on Shula. Obviously, we all are. You've called him a future head coach in this league, and I know how high you are on Ahkello Witherspoon. So, what adjustments is Dan Shula going to, is Shula going to have to make here? Because do you become a true pass funnel defense that's really just going to say, hey, we're going to give you a 7-yard out route whenever you want it. We're not really confident in our ability to press up on you? Or does this become a defense that blitzes even more? Is this a defense that plays tight man-to-man with safety help and just hopes you can get pressure with an elite D-line without sending a 5th or 6th guy? What is this defense going to have to do, for not just a couple weeks, for maybe until the trade deadline where they maybe go get someone, knowing the secondary becomes an even larger weakness for this team?
I think with Chris Shula, it's always going to be player-centric. You're always going to play guys to their strengths, but I don't think much is really going to change. I really don't. I think that they're going to rely on their front seven, like a Chris Shula, Vic Fangio kind of style defense that you're going to see from him. And you're going to just hope that guys step up and make plays. Let's not forget, like, they signed Darius Williams makes a lot more money than Akella Witherspoon does, right?
True.
He's the highest paid of this cornerback group. So they're not going to try to dumb down a defense or a scheme just because he hasn't been the guy that they originally thought he was going to be. But he hasn't been awful, right? He hasn't been a bust. He hasn't been kind of like what Trey White was for them last year, right? Someone where it was like a true kind of reclamation project. I mean, Darius Williams does some really, really good things too that are to his strengths too. I mean, he has a really great ability to kind of close in on the football. I mean, you saw a couple plays today that can help him make up for his size. When the ball gets there, he's really good at using his hands to create incompletions and things like that. I think this is more of a really good opportunity for a guy that we've seen play at a high level for this team. And then the question becomes too with Kobe Durant. I think for him, you see less on the outside too, just anyway, just because of the versatility that he brings. So really what it comes down to in all this is, can Emmanuel Forbes be that guy that you trust on the outside for one of those spots where if he does make a mistake, it's, oh, no, he made a couple mistakes. We've got the depth to plug in someone else. It's, no, he has to play well. Like, he has to live through some mistakes, continue to develop. So I think that is really more of what it is, because let's not forget, Sean McVay said before the season that they had 4 starting cornerbacks. So when you have 4 starting cornerbacks and one goes down, which is the NFL, it happens. And unfortunately, it's a clavicle, so it's going to be out for a significant amount of time. One of those guys has to step up. So, yeah, look, this team was always going to be a top 10 defense because of their pass rush. And then we saw last week with Nate Landman and improved linebackers play, that's a strong suit. We also the safety step up as well. So I still feel like this team has enough talent to be one of the better defenses, even with Akella Witherspoon out. Because if Akella Witherspoon was as good as a lot of other teams thought he was, he'd be making $8 to $10 million a year, right? With the Rams, though, they know how to use him, and he steps up in big spots. So they're going to do the same thing, I think, with Williams.
Yeah, and the good news is that, I mean, the only good news around this conversation is, at the very least, we saw what the Rams offense can do if they're in a situation where they need to maybe put up a few more points or maybe be a bit more explosive with a defense that's going to be slightly, a little hampered, right? Not like they're suddenly going to give up 35 points a ball game or something, but you give up 19 against the Titans. It could have been even more if it wasn't for a punt return getting called back. Certainly you expect the Eagles to put up 24, 27 points or something like that. The good news is, okay, we feel a lot more confident about the Rams being able to match them score for score with 28, 31 points, something like that. I think Sean McVay, it's unfortunate. It felt like I still feel like he prefers if these games are 21 to 13 wins and not 35 to 28 wins. I just feel like that's how he is, but we certainly know that this offense has the capability to air things out and to, have these run and gun shootout games. And that might be the case now with Akella Witherspoon out. That's the only bright side there. I mean, outside of the injury, which is a bummer, the defense, again, we cannot not give this team credit enough. I mean, Cam Kinchin's 10 tackles today. Nate Landman flying all over the field with 8. Cam Curl, really impressed whenever you can see a secondary guy have 2 TFLs in a ball game, 7 tackles, but 2 TFLs, including the sack. Obviously, Byron Young is the player of the game, maybe for the whole team, certainly the defense, but another week where, despite the injury to Akella Witherspoon, despite Cam Ward flying all over the place, I do feel like this Titans offense is a little bit underrated. Their offensive line is horrible, but I'm stuttering trying to say it. I know the Stanford wide receiver, he's kind of a sneaky stud. Calvin Ridley, you hold him to 3 for 57. I was pretty impressed with the defense overall. Brock, if there's one thing you want to see, it's getting to the passer. 5 sacks today. We were underwhelmed by 3 sacks last week. Your thoughts on the D-line overall in this ball game and maybe how they fare going into Philly next week?
I think they did well, man. I think they did well. Like I said earlier in the show, I think Byron Young showed why his name should be mentioned a little bit more. I mean, obviously, he had a practice squad guy in front of him. That doesn't take away from what his performance is because he obviously showed out last week as well. But to have that opportunity to really show itself and to go out there and impact the game the way he did was phenomenal. But, you know, like you said, man, having a front four like this that can get after the passer, it makes you a little bit easy. It makes it a little bit easier for the defensive coordinator to call plays when you can get pressure and things like that. With a 4-man rush, you can back everybody out, kind of see and back out in the zone where they can see the quarterback, especially if you have multiple quarterbacks, which the NFL is filled with nowadays in this modern era. So it gives you a little bit advantage as a defense to be able to get pressure with a 4-man rush, back your guys off in zone with zone eyes, watching the quarterback and being able to step up whenever they get out of the pocket or anything like that. So for me, man, I think this defense showed itself today. Obviously, you don't want to see, you know, one of your key players go down, but you know, to have a defense like this, man, I think, you know, our expectations are so high for this team because, I mean, that's just the way our standard is. But the way they played today was phenomenal, man. They did a great job, and I look forward to them all season, especially next week versus the Eagles.
Yeah, I was impressed by Cam Ward. I mean, the throw you mentioned, Iamainer, I mean, cross body, almost got sacked on that play. I think you look at his numbers, and they don't say, oh, this screams number one pick, but the plays that he makes, like if I had to choose between Cam Ward and Caleb Williams, like give me all the stock in Cam Ward. I'm in on Cam Ward. Like I kind of always was, but he kind of like has this like veteran type like composure, like he doesn't get rattled. Well, I kind of see the same thing from Penix too, a little bit from Atlanta. So it's not like they went out there and they played this terrible team that had no weapons, as you pointed out. Like it was still a tough test against. Look, it's early in the season, Brock. I mean, you know, teams they're trying to get dubs, right? Like everyone thinks they have a chance in week 2. I think the Titans were the same way. I do kind of want to go back to what some of you were talking about, Gavin, as far as kind of the picks and this and that, because it might be a good topic for one of the midweek shows. Is I've seen enough from this team, like the offense with Puka and Stafford and the potential there, the defense. Like if there is a player out there that could be that missing piece to get you over the top. Like this is the same organization that coined the them picks era with Les Snead. Like if there's a guy out there that you could be a cornerback, even with the Kello in the fold, right? And even with him coming back, you could improve that position. If there's another guy that could take the team over the top, I would not be hesitant to use that pick because I don't know about you guys, but Arch Manning, it has not been Arch Madness, right? Like my man's getting booed against UTEP. Right? The quarterback play has not let me give me Stetson Bennett over Arch Manning right now. I don't think there's that quarterback that you say, oh, we got to keep that number one pick just to go get that guy. Like, dude, like this team looks like a Super Bowl contender, like for real on both sides of the football. And I also think too, that they could get better with an addition. So I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm always about the them picks era, you know, like a lot of teams try to do what the Rams did, right? But they skip the part where they actually win that Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So like they have the kind of the equity to know that it works.
Yeah, and I think an average organization in terms of their mindset would look at a team that's 2-0 with an older quarterback, with an older second receiver that they just paid big money for, and they would almost logically already have to assume it's a buy, win now, you know, state of the franchise. But this is the Rams, right? Like if this was the most, you know, I don't know, like the Bengals or something, known for not paying guys, known for maybe not going forward or something like that, even they would look at the situation and go, we have to buy. We cannot protect picks. But this is the freaking Rams, right? This is what we do. So you're exactly right, D-Mac. I certainly expect us to be busy throughout the trade time frame. It might not just be one trade. It might be a couple with the picks that we have and now a hole that we do have. Real quick, my thoughts on Cam Ward. The one thing that impressed me was, like you're saying, the ability to get out, the ability to make a crazy throw like he did on that touchdown, but the ability to not turn the ball over while doing that is what's really impressive, right? You got all these guys that come in, you know, Mahomes was the one who started it, right? And then that's why we have crazy things like Zach Wilson getting picked second overall. It's because suddenly teams wanted the guy who could run around and throw the ball on his back foot across the field. Maybe you're not supposed to do that. But guess what? When they do it, they turn the ball over. So then teams pivot and say, okay, let's get a guy who's not going to turn the ball over. Maybe a JJ McCarthy or something who's a little bit more pocket passer-esque, right? No. Cam Ward is run all over the place, but he doesn't turn the ball over. And that was what was impressive to me. He'll get better than the 19 of 33 when he gets more chemistry with Calvin Ridley and company. But yeah, I do think the Titans played this Broncos team well last week. Let's not forget that. The Broncos were favored by 10 points, and sure, they did win the game, I believe. Yeah, it was 20-12, but that game came down the last couple of drives. This Titans team is not as bad as 0-2 would make you think. So it's still an impressive win for the Rams, an impressive job against an impressive Cam Ward. We're going to take our last break. No, D-Mac, I'm not cutting you off. Go for it.
Like if there's a Cam Ward out there that like was an option, then I would say, okay, maybe, right? And this is no slight on your boy Nussmeier, Brock, from LSU, right? But I have not been moved. I have not been moved by any of these college quarterbacks. And if that was kind of a subplot that we were looking at early on this season, is who's going to be Matthew Stafford's successor? And is there a guy out there that's worth it to kind of stash one of those picks? I think on September 14th, after seeing this team play 2 games, I would say, hey, man, go for it in 2025. And we'll worry about the quarterback situation when that problem actually presents itself.
Yeah, I mean, Lenore Sellers got knocked out of the game yesterday. Like you said, Arch, there's been question marks. Drew Aller, I feel like he's a Walmart discounted Josh Allen, like not even close to the real thing. So I don't know. I agree. The quarterbacks in college, even D-Mac, too freaking soon, but even a guy like Nico, they're all underperforming. And RIP to the UCLA football
Brock,
program,
you should have seen this guy. He went like straight up ether on UCLA athletics on Friday night. Like this guy was, dude, I mean, UCLA has 2 business days to respond, man. Like this guy went after the entire administration, the coaches, their families. Like, man, it was it was crazy.
I think about your families now.
It was like way cooked.
I mean, yeah, that's I mean, it's a bummer. I mean, same with Brock. Your head coach, or your program's head coach. I mean, Brian Kelly was going after reporters after a win. I thought that was pretty hilarious. But yeah, it was a interesting week or weekend in college football. All right, we're gonna take our last break. When we come back, we'll check in on those Eagles, and we will preview a little bit. You know, there's a midweek show coming with a huge preview, but we have to at least briefly talk about Rams Eagles next week. What could be 2 undefeated teams, although the Eagles are down against Kansas City right now. We'll talk about that game and what this win against the Titans could mean for that game after our last break here on the Locked On Rams Squad Show. Now, finally, on this Sunday, we're a little blurry here. Let's see if we can get the focus back in. Now, we'll see. Today's show is brought to you by Upside. Are you still paying full price for gas, Rams fans? Well, if you are, you need to stop leaving money behind and get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Disclaimer: offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Back here live on the Rams Squad Show. I don't know why my camera is suddenly giving me like this blurry effect. Brock, what's going on? I mean, I look like I'm underwater right now, but the Rams offense was not underwater. See what I did there? They don't pay me very much money because that's the best I got for them in terms of a transition there. But the Rams moved to 2-0 with a nice win, with the offense exploding, and set up what could be a 2-0, undefeated showdown with the Eagles, who just fell behind 10-7 against the Chiefs, but certainly are expected to win this game today and are probably going to be favored against our Rams next week. Obviously, we're going to have a midweek show. We're going to break it all down, but just coming off of this game, fresh what we saw, did anything you see today change what you're feeling about next week? We'll start with Brock.
Not at all, man. I think this team is a full-rounded team. I think we are good when we need to be good. Here, in the run game, maybe we didn't start off like we wanted to, but towards the end of the game, you've seen us start to wear down this Titans defense. Obviously, like I said earlier, you have to be on your P's and Q's playing this Rams team. And you have to watch a lot of film because we will attack you wherever you are weakest, at your weakest point. So it's guys flowing too fast. If it's the linebackers flowing too fast on runs or flowing too fast on motion, then we get we get Tyler Higbee in the flats on the play actions and things like that. So you have to be, like I said, on your P's and Q's as a defender playing this Rams team. And I just think it causes you to slow down a bit. It causes you to, question yourself, question your ability. Like, am I supposed to be right here? Do I supposed to be attacking this gap? So as a defender, it's very hard to play this Rams team, especially if everybody's on point. You got Matthew Stafford throwing the ball off his back feet with the what you say with the floater or the in basketball, and he makes those
fadeaway,
plays. The little fadeaway, man, little fadeaway. He doesn't have to. When he does step into throws, you see how he can zip it. So man, I think he's a great thrower of the ball, man. I'm with you, D-Mac. When he's throwing the ball, I'm just watching the laces just rotate. I'm like, man, that's a pretty ball. So for me, man, this Ram team is on point right now. I love where they're at. Obviously, our expectations for them is to be much more. But as long as they're getting dubs, like, what are we really complaining about, right, guys?
Yeah, no, I love that Brock points that out. I mean, like, there's this kind of this whole like, oh, the big bad Phillies, right? I mean, the big bad wrong sport. Same city though. The big bad Eagles, right? Like the Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions, isn't that? No, like the Phillies have to play the Rams too. It's not just the Rams have to play the Phillies on the road. But I do think that we've talked a lot about, was this a trap game for the Titans? Was this a trap game, right? But the same thing can be said about this. How this game leading into this game impacts the Eagles as well. I mean, they're in this big emotional Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City. We'll see how this game plays out. If it's a hard-fought game in the fourth quarter, you got to rebound and play the Rams at home. Could be a little bit of a letdown for yourself. So that could impact them as well. And I think for this Rams team, they're in a really good spot heading into this one because they're 2-0, right? I mean, they could have been 1-1 if had they lost against the Texans, they made up for this week, or they were trailing in the third quarter of this game. I mean, this team could be 1-2 after the Eagles. Now they're in a really good spot where, hey, they're like piling up wins. Let's not forget how well they started out in 2021 when they started 8-0, right? So I think that the Rams know that they have the talent to beat that Eagles team. And I think, too, like, it's going to just mean more for the Rams than I think that it's going to mean for the Eagles, right? Like, if they can kind of exercise that demon, knowing that they were so close to knocking them off last year in the playoffs, like that's a win that if there was any kind of doubt whether or not you could win the Super Bowl, I think that takes that away and that you kind of ride that momentum for the rest of the season. I think that they are going to use that as a little bit of a barometer for, hey, how well can we compete with the best teams in the NFL? So they're going to be ready to go. And like, Brock's giving me confidence, right? I'm trying not to be scared, right? I don't like, you know what I mean? Like he's giving me a little pep talk, right? Like I'm a boxer in the corner. He's like, get it together, right? So I not to be like a Rocky thing, but like, I don't want to be afraid of the Eagles anymore, right? I want to step up, man up, and beat that team in Philly.
Yeah, I agree. And what makes it interesting is you don't need to be motivated any more than they're going to be because of what happened last year, right? Like this team is going to be pissed off and fired up, whether they were 0-2 or 2-0. You don't have to worry about there being a let up, but like you're saying, you get to play a little bit more free while you do have this huge rematch. I will say, just going around the league a little bit, while it's very nice that we're 2-0 and you don't have to win this game next week, I mean, the NFC West looked pretty darn good today. Seattle thumps the Steelers in Pittsburgh 31-17. They dominated that game despite no Brock Purdy or George Kittle. I don't know if Jawan Jennings ended up playing, but either way, the Niners survive in New Orleans to move to 2-0. And then the Cardinals, D-Mac's sleeper team in the NFC West. And I'm not letting you lose that reputation now. The Cardinals do win again, or don't win yet, but they're up 20-3 at halftime against the Panthers. So they're certainly looking like
Gavin,
they're on the way.
give us a little sneak preview. Come on, give us a sneak preview. I know you want to pick the Eagles because you hate we always agree. Come on, give us a sneak preview, man. I know that can change with how they do against the Chiefs, but can we get a little sneak preview? Come on.
All I will say is I have the winner of this game winning by 2 scores. I don't even think it's going to be close. I'll leave it at that. And you'll see who it is on the midweek show. We'll leave it at that. How about that? But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. It's a must-watch game. And I know everyone was saying that this Eagles Kansas City game was going to be the most watched regular season game of the season. And of course, you had the Bills and Ravens last week. But man, oh man, Rams, Eagles, rematch of what could have been the two best teams in the NFC last year. Now probably the two best teams in the NFC. You can put the Packers in that maybe as well. Man, it's going to be must-watch TV. I'm curious, what do you guys think of that Packers-Commanders game on Thursday? We learn anything about the Packers? Are they truly a team that's going to be right there with the Rams and Eagles now? Can we say that?
I think so. I mean, Love is a hell of a quarterback. I think him and Matt LaFleur, obviously from that McVay tree, and I love seeing the McVay tree head coaches, do their thing. But when they're going against my Rams, it's kind of I'm going for my guys. But Matt LaFleur and that team, I think they have the pieces. I mean, you add Micah Parsons to that phenomenal D line, and him and Gary on the ends. I just think that's going to be a tough matchup for anybody this year, especially if they stay healthy. But I like you said, man, is it a sophomore slump? Can we talk about Jalen? Jaden Daniels and being a sophomore slump. Now, like I said, now you're on film. People are shocked. Shocked of you. Your first year because they have nothing to go off of. Now people can watch your film, analyze it, have your tendencies and things like that. Hey, it's a little bit of a sophomore slump going on, but I think he's going to be a phenomenal player in the future. I'm just saying, now guys got you down. This is a league where guys watch film more than they play the game. So you definitely have to come out here with some different things, some different attributes, and some different plays or whatever in your tool belt to go out here and win these games.
It could be this year's CJ Stroud, right? I mean, comes off that really great rookie season, but that's what we got. That's what we got. The elite stuff. We got actually players on the show. Brock pointing out the fact that, and that blows my mind. Like, players watch film more than they play the game. I mean, that's very telling. I can just picture these guys all off season for like 8 months watching every single snap, and then boom, we finally get to play against this guy, and we're slowing him down. It all pays off. But yeah, I mean, I think quickly about your question on the Packers, they've had a lot of success against the Rams, especially against Sean McVay. And going into Lambeau, I still need Jordan Love to kind of prove it to me a little bit more to say I'm all in. But the biggest thing is they really missed a golden opportunity to not call those all white uniforms white cheddar. Like, come on. Like that. Like, I actually like, you guys like those all white Packers uniforms? They're kind of clean.
I'm a little torn on them just because I don't know. I'm really big on like symmetry in jerseys, maybe a little too much. It kind of bothers me a bit that the helmet is only green and white, but then the jersey has the yellow
on the helmet.
I'm like, you either need to go green, yellow, and white, or just green and white. I thought if it was just green and white, I would have thought that would have been kind of clean. But also, I'm pro green, yellow, and white. I just don't like the contrast there. That's what kind of threw me off a bit. I don't know.
Interesting. Fair enough. I got it.
But either way, if they called it white cheddar, I would like the jersey a lot more. Okay. So. Leave it to D-Mac to have the fire nickname for the jerseys. What's your nickname for the Blacks the Rams are going to be wearing?
Man, I think they're called. Well, we got called out in the comments because we were like, aren't they black? Are they dark navy? I'm like, I don't. Brock, are they dark navy or are they black?
I think they're black. with a little
black,
blue
right?
accent.
Yeah. So I mean, they're calling like the midnight. The midnight like jersey. So I don't know. We kind of got it. What I like, the best thing about them though, is the horn is like been fixed, where it's like the true kind of like a miniature version of the Rams horn. I think they need to put that on the blues and the whites and all of them. But I mean, I'm feeling them, and I think they look a lot better than a lot of the other ones for sure. I like them.
I agree. I mean, even Brock's got the hat. You can already kind of tell, right? The Rams colors on the black. It looks nice, right? So I'm a fan. I'm a fan for sure. But white cheddar, I love it. The white cheddar, that's going to be funny all season long. We'll see what the Rams can do next week against the Eagles. It's going to be exciting. I know it's very weird doing this post-game show right when the 1:00 slate is going on. So perfect timing now. It's right around halftime. Everyone sit back, relax, enjoy the rest of your NFL Sunday. And the best part about Sundays when your team plays at 10 a.m. is when they handle business, man. Every game is so much more entertaining knowing that your team won this week, knowing that the Rams are 2-0. You can watch that Eagles game and you can it's like watching, two people fighting, knowing, hey, I get to play the one of these teams next week. And I already had my fight and I was unscathed. I'm feeling perfectly fine. So watch the other two beat each other up. Get ready for the Eagles next week and make sure Mwadib says the best part of 10 a.m. games is being day drunk. Hilarious. Well, we're all day drunk off of that win against the Titans today, and we're looking forward to the showdown. Day drunk on the Coke Zero there. I love it. We'll see you guys next week. Midweek show expected as always. We'll be previewing Rams Eagles, and then we'll be back post game Sunday after that huge ball game. Any last words, Brock or D-Mac?
Let's go 3-0 next week.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Got to beat these Eagles.
D-Mac sounds like a coach, man. Let's go 3-0 next week, guys. Let's handle business. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, take care. Let's enjoy the rest of that Eagles game against the Chiefs. I'll see you guys next week. Whose house? Rams house, baby. Mob Squad signing off.